The first time Marcus realized his life could go either way was on a cracked sidewalk outside a rundown corner store in Ohio, the kind of place where dreams usually go to take a nap and never wake up. He was 17, broke, tired, and feeling invisible. Straight up, he felt like the world had already decided who he was going to be, and it wasn't anything special. His phone buzzed with overdue notices, his shoes were worn thin, and his head was loud with doubts that wouldn't chill. Still, deep down, there was this tiny spark, barely flickering, whispering that life didn't have to stay this way. That whisper is where this life-changing motivational story really begins. Marcus grew up watching people settle, not because they wanted to, but because they felt stuck. Bills, stress, fear, and bad luck piled up like junk in a garage nobody ever cleaned. He told himself he'd be different, but saying it and living it were two totally different games. Every day felt like a grind with no reward, no applause, no shortcut. He worked odd jobs, got rejected more times than he could count, and heard no so often it started sounding normal. But what messed with him the most wasn't failure. It was the feeling that he might never even get a real shot. That fear can paralyze you if you let it, no joke. One night, after a long shift that paid next to nothing, Marcus sat in his car with the engine off, just staring at the steering wheel. He felt defeated, like all his effort was going nowhere fast. That's when he remembered something his grandfather used to say. You don't need the whole staircase, just the next step. At the time, it sounded kinda corny, but that night it hit different. Marcus realized he was obsessing over the finish line instead of focusing on what he could actually do right now. That mindset shift didn't fix his life overnight, but it cracked the door open. The next morning, Marcus decided to control what he could. He started waking up earlier, even when he was exhausted. He read books instead of scrolling mindlessly. He listened to motivational stories and success mindset talks while driving to work. At first it felt awkward, like wearing shoes that weren't broken in yet, but over time those habits started shaping how he thought. He wasn't suddenly rich or famous, but his confidence began to grow. He stopped seeing himself as a victim of circumstance and started seeing himself as a work in progress. That change alone was powerful. There were setbacks, plenty of them. Marcus failed a certification test he'd studied weeks for. He applied for jobs that never called back. Some friends clowned him for trying too hard, saying stuff like, "Man, just chill, life is what it is." That hurt, because part of him wanted to believe them. It would have been easier to quit and blend in, but every time he felt like giving up, he remembered how miserable quitting felt before. Pain with purpose started feeling better than comfort with regret. Months passed, then a year. Marcus didn't notice the growth at first because it was slow and steady, not flashy. But one day, he looked back and realized he wasn't the same guy sitting in that parked car anymore. He spoke with more confidence. He handled stress better. He had discipline. Opportunities started popping up, not magically, but because he was ready when they showed up. A better job turned into a promotion. A side hustle turned into real income. His circle got smaller but stronger. That's when he learned another life lesson. Not everyone is meant to come with you to the next level. One of the biggest turning points came when Marcus decided to bet on himself. He saved up and invested in a small business idea he'd been scared to try. It wasn't perfect, and it definitely wasn't easy. There were nights he slept only a few hours, worried about money and mistakes. But for the first time, the stress felt meaningful. He was building something brick by brick. Every win, even the small ones, boosted his belief. Every failure taught him something valuable. That's the thing people don't tell you about success. It's messy, loud, and uncomfortable before it ever looks good on the outside. As time went on, Marcus started sharing his story with others. Not because he thought he was special, but because he knew what it felt like to feel stuck. He talked to students, coworkers, and strangers online who felt lost, unmotivated, or defeated. He told them the truth. Motivation doesn't always feel like hype and energy. Sometimes it feels like discipline, showing up when you don't feel like it, and choosing long-term growth over short-term comfort. People connected with that honesty. They didn't need perfection. They needed proof that change was possible. What made Marcus's journey inspiring wasn't some overnight glow-up or viral moment. It was consistency. He learned to keep going on bad days, not just good ones. He learned that confidence isn't loud. It's quiet and steady. He learned that success isn't about beating others. It's about becoming better than you were yesterday. These lessons didn't just change his bank account. They changed his mindset, his relationships, and how he saw himself. That's real personal growth motivation right there. Years later, Marcus drove past that same corner store where he once felt invisible. This time he smiled, not because life was perfect, but because he knew he could handle whatever came next. He understood that hard times don't last forever, but quitting can. He understood that dreams don't work unless you do. Most importantly, he understood that no one was coming to save him. And that was actually empowering. Taking ownership of his life was the most freeing thing he'd ever done. This life-changing motivational story isn't just about Marcus. It's about anyone who's tired of feeling stuck, overlooked, or underestimated. It's about students struggling with pressure, workers grinding without recognition, dreamers scared to take the leap. The truth is, you don't need perfect timing, a perfect background, or permission from anyone. You need courage, consistency, and the willingness to keep moving even when progress feels slow. Motivation for success isn't about feeling fired up all the time. It's about staying committed when the hype fades. If you're reading this and feeling like life has you boxed in, hear this loud and clear. Your current situation is not your final destination. You can change your habits. You can change your mindset. You can change your future. It won't be easy and it won't be quick, but it will be worth it. Start small. Stay patient. Keep grinding. One day you'll look back and realize the moment you decided not to quit was the moment everything started to change. That's not just motivation. That's real-life proof that your story is still being written.